I met my fiance 8 years ago while we were both going through divorces. Initially, our relationship was wonderful, but serious issues have surfaced over time, particularly regarding how he handles emotions and expectations. For his 50th birthday, I failed to organize the big party he wanted. He became furious, yelling, calling me names, and even throwing things. 3 days later, he surprisingly proposed, explaining that his frustration stemmed from not being able to propose during the party. I said yes, but felt deeply conflicted. While planning the wedding, we clashed constantly, and the plans ultimately fell apart. Around the same time, he discussed a trip to Italy with his mother and brother, but never made firm plans. Later, my aunt, who helped raise me, invited me on a trip to Italy, offering to pay for everything. I agreed, but when my fiance found out, he erupted again, accusing me of selfishness and prioritizing my family over him. He demanded we marry before the trip as a way for me to make up for my mistakes. I reluctantly agreed, but the wedding plans stalled, leading to even more heated arguments. While our day-to-day life is often pleasant, his frequent outbursts over feeling hurt or disappointed are overwhelming. I love the life we've built and don't want to start over, but his anger and demands are draining me. I'm unsure how to reconcile my love for him with the pain he causes me.
Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring a personal story that you sent in, and it really got me thinking about the complexities of relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
On the surface, it seems like a love story. You met your fiance 8 years ago, both fresh out of divorces. You connected instantly, things moved quickly.
Right.
But there's another side to the story, a pattern of explosive anger that seems to erupt whenever your fiance's expectations aren't met. So,
Yeah, starting a relationship during a time of personal upheaval, like a divorce, can be a double-edged sword. While that shared vulnerability can create a really powerful bond, it also brings the risk of unresolved baggage.
mm.
Makes me wonder if some of those past hurts are influencing the dynamics that you're experiencing now.
Let's fast forward to the present. Your fiance's 50th birthday was approaching. A milestone he'd been anticipating, especially after feeling let down by his 40th birthday experience, and you wanted to make it special, pulling out all the stops for a big celebration. But as the date got closer, the plans started to unravel.
Hmm. This situation with high expectations colliding with reality is ripe for conflict. It sounds like his past disappointment around birthdays created a sensitivity, making this celebration even more loaded.
And that sensitivity turned into an explosive reaction when the birthday plans didn't pan out. The anger, the yelling, the name-calling, it's concerning to hear about this level of emotional volatility.
This behavior raises some red flags. The fact that he demanded an apology before even speaking to you again suggests a need for control and dominance within the relationship. He's dictating the terms of reconciliation instead of engaging in healthy communication.
And this is where the story takes a heartbreaking turn. The stress of the situation impacted your health and you landed in urgent care with an infection. And instead of offering support, your fiance blamed you for his outburst, saying you hurt him so badly.
That blame shifting is a concerning defense mechanism. Instead of taking responsibility for his actions, he's projecting his own feelings of guilt and discomfort onto you. This pattern of deflecting blame can really erode the foundation of trust in a relationship.
3 days after this explosive fight, something unexpected happened, he proposed. He explained that he'd planned to propose at the birthday party.
The timing of this proposal, coming right after a major conflict, raises questions about his motivations. It feels like a manipulative tactic, using a grand gesture to smooth over the hurt that he caused and potentially guilt you into accepting.
You mentioned feeling conflicted about accepting the proposal. While you would have been thrilled under different circumstances, his behavior left you feeling deeply uneasy.
Right. It's crucial to assess the overall health and dynamics of a relationship, especially when faced with such a life-altering decision. A proposal shouldn't be used to mask or dismiss deeper issues.
Unfortunately, the problems didn't disappear with the ring. Wedding planning became a battleground with disagreements over every detail. It seems like any deviation from his expectations triggered that familiar pattern of anger and blame.
This recurring conflict reinforces the pattern that we've been discussing. It's as if he's trying to maintain control by dictating the terms of your shared experiences. This need to control every aspect of the wedding could be a sign of deeper insecurities or a fear of things not going according to his plan.
And then comes the Italy trip. Your aunt, who played a significant role in raising you, offered an incredible opportunity. A trip to Italy, all expenses paid. It sounds like a dream come true, a chance to create lasting memories.
This trip represents a genuine and meaningful connection for you, a chance to honor the bond you share with your aunt. It's about celebrating life and creating shared experiences.
But when you shared this news with your fiance, his reaction was far from supportive. He accused you of prioritizing your aunt over him, of failing him again after the birthday debacle.
This reaction, filled with accusations and a sense of abandonment, speaks volumes about the power dynamic in your relationship. It's not about the trip itself, it's about his perceived loss of control and the threat to his idealized vision.
His anger escalated, culminating in a shocking ultimatum. You had to marry him before going on the trip.
This ultimatum is a classic example of controlling behavior. He's using the wedding as leverage to dictate your actions and restrict your independence.
You reluctantly agreed to the ultimatum, but months passed with no progress on wedding plans. It seems like his demand for marriage was more about exerting control than a genuine desire to commit.
The inconsistency between his words and actions further highlights the manipulative nature of this situation. He demands marriage as a condition for the trip, yet makes no effort to move forward with the actual commitment.
Yeah.
This creates a confusing and emotionally draining dynamic for you.
You decided to focus on your upcoming trip with your aunt, a decision that reignited the arguments. He accused you of neglecting him, of failing to meet his needs, even though you were about to embark on a once-in-a-lifetime journey with your elderly aunt.
This constant negativity takes a toll. You're walking on eggshells trying to avoid triggering his anger, creating a deeply unhealthy dynamic where you're constantly trying to manage his emotions instead of focusing on your own needs.
And it's not like your entire relationship is bad. You describe your daily life outside of these blow-ups as quite good. He's generous, helpful, and you enjoy shared activities. But that underlying tension, that fear of triggering another outburst, is eroding your connection.
This is a common experience in relationships with an imbalance of power. Moments of genuine connection and affection can be overshadowed by fear and tension created by unpredictable outbursts. This constant state of alert can be incredibly draining, leaving you feeling emotionally exhausted.
You also mentioned being aware of your own communication shortcomings and that you might be neurodivergent. You wonder if that contributes to the difficulties in understanding each other's perspectives.
It's commendable that you're self-aware, but remember, your communication style or potential neurodivergence doesn't excuse his behavior. No one deserves to be subjected to verbal abuse or manipulation, regardless of their individual challenges.
This brings us to the heart of the dilemma. You love the life you've built together, but his extreme reactions to your perceived mistakes make life unbearable. It's a constant push and pull between wanting to preserve the good parts of the relationship and struggling with the emotional toll of his anger.
It's a difficult situation, and it's understandable that you're feeling torn. You're trying to balance your love for him with the need to protect your own emotional well-being. This internal conflict is something many people face when trying to navigate complex relationships.
That's a great place to pause for now. We'll continue unpacking this story in part 2, exploring the challenges of balancing love and self-preservation.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it? Trying to support a partner while also protecting yourself.
It really is. And it's easy to just say, just leave, but relationships rarely unravel that quickly. Especially when love history and a shared life are involved. You clearly care deeply for your fiancé and you want to make things work.
You mentioned several examples of your dedication to the relationship. Taking care of the house, cooking, doing all the chores. You even took on a mortgage so you could buy a home together when his credit wasn't great. These are significant contributions, and they demonstrate your commitment and willingness to support him. But it also raises a concern. Is this a truly balanced partnership?
Is he reciprocating that level of care and consideration? That is the million-dollar question. We're only hearing your side of the story. But from what you've shared, there seems to be a real imbalance. You're putting in so much effort to keep things running smoothly and avoid conflict, while he seems stuck in this cycle of anger and resentment.
This pattern of one partner overfunctioning, almost becoming a caretaker to avoid conflict, is common in imbalanced relationships. Sadly, it often leads to resentment on both sides.
It's as if you're constantly on edge trying to anticipate his reactions. It's no way to live. And it makes me think about our listeners. I bet many can relate to this dynamic on some level. Maybe they've experienced something similar in their own relationships, or they know someone who has.
Unfortunately, this type of dynamic rooted in insecurity control issues or difficulty regulating emotions plays out far too often. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward breaking free.
It's so important to acknowledge that relationships aren't always perfect. It can be difficult to admit that something isn't working, especially when you love the person and you want to make things work.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
sometimes that desire to make things work can keep us in unhealthy patterns much longer than we should.
So, what can you do when you find yourself in this type of situation? Where do you even begin to unravel these ingrained patterns?
The first step is acknowledging that there's a problem, that the current dynamic isn't sustainable. That can be incredibly difficult, especially when you're afraid of the consequences.
You mean afraid of triggering another outburst? Afraid of your partner's anger?
Yes, but it's crucial to remember that you deserve to be treated with respect, regardless of any mistakes you make or challenges you might have.
So, let's say you're ready to make a change. What comes next?
Open and honest communication is essential, but it needs to happen in a safe and constructive way. Sometimes this involves seeking professional help, either individually or as a couple. A therapist can provide a neutral space to explore deeper issues and develop healthier communication skills.
That makes sense. But what if your partner is unwilling to go to therapy or even admit there's a problem?
That's a tough situation and sadly not uncommon. If your partner resists change, you need to focus on what you can control, your own well-being.
So, things like setting boundaries and prioritizing self care.
Exactly. It's about understanding your needs and limits and communicating them clearly and assertively.
And sometimes setting those boundaries might mean walking away from the relationship, right? Even if you love the person.
Yes, love doesn't conquer all. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to prioritize your safety and emotional health.
That's a powerful message. It brings us back to your story. You're at a crossroads. This incredible opportunity to travel with your aunt has reignited those deep-seated conflicts with your fiancé.
External circumstances often bring internal struggles to the surface. The trip isn't the problem. It's acting as a catalyst for you to confront larger issues in the relationship.
It's forcing you to ask some difficult questions. Can you continue living with this level of volatility and control? Is it possible for him to change? And most importantly, what do you need to feel safe, loved, and respected?
Those are exactly the questions you need to grapple with as you move forward. You've shown incredible courage by sharing your story. It takes so much strength to be this vulnerable, to open up about such a personal and painful experience.
Your willingness to share speaks to the power of storytelling. It creates space for these difficult conversations. We all have our relationship baggage, our struggles with communication. Hearing someone else's story helps us feel less alone and empowers us to make positive changes in our own lives. And you know, it's so true. Hearing other people's stories can help us feel seen and understood. And as we move into the final part of this deep dive, there's one thing that really stuck with me. It seems like your fiancé fixates on these milestone events, his 40th birthday, the upcoming 50th, even the trip to Italy.
Yeah,
When things don't go exactly according to plan, he erupts.
that's a keen observation. It seems these events tap into a deeper need for control and validation. Perhaps he feels like these milestones are a chance to rewrite the past to make up for perceived disappointments or slights.
Right.
And when reality doesn't match his idealized vision,
Yeah.
it triggers intense feelings of anger and resentment.
It's like he's so focused on creating these perfect moments that he misses out on the actual experience, the messiness and imperfections that make life real.
Exactly. The irony is that the more we try to control and orchestrate our lives, the more likely we are to miss out on the spontaneous joy and connection that come from embracing the present moment.
That's such a powerful thought. We all have expectations and attachments, our own ways of trying to manage life's uncertainties. How do we find that balance between honoring our needs and desires while also allowing for flexibility? How do we navigate those inevitable disappointments without letting them derail our relationships?
It starts with open and honest communication, being able to express our feelings and needs in a safe and respectful way. It also involves developing healthy coping mechanisms for dealing with stress and frustration. Learning to regulate our own emotions is crucial, especially when things don't go as planned.
And maybe letting go of the need to control every little detail.
Precisely. Embracing the unknown, allowing for spontaneity, and finding joy in those unexpected detours life throws our way.
I love that. That beautifully summarizes the essence of our deep dive today. We've explored the complexities of this relationship at a crossroads, unpacking the dynamics of anger control and the yearning for validation. But it's also a story about the human journey, the ongoing process of learning, growing, and finding our way back to ourselves.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even amidst challenges, there's always hope for healing, understanding, and creating relationships built on mutual respect, love, and acceptance of life's imperfections.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought. If you're feeling stuck in a similar situation, struggling with questions of love, self preservation, and the desire for a healthier relationship, please know you're not alone. Reach out, seek support, and remember that you deserve to be treated with kindness, respect, and compassion, both by yourself and those you love.
Beautifully said. The journey toward healthier relationships is a process, not a destination. Be patient with yourself, celebrate the small victories, and never underestimate the power of love, forgiveness, and the courage to create positive change.
Such great advice. Thank you so much for joining me on another deep dive. And to all of you listening, thank you for being here, for sharing your stories, and for being part of this incredible community. We'll see you next time.